Imagine a cut on your hand. Not deep, not dramatic. The kind you get opening a package, and you don't even notice until you see the blood. You clean it. Maybe grab a bandage. Forget about it by tomorrow. Thousands of years ago, that cut could kill you. Not slowly, not dramatically, quietly. An infection setting in over days, spreading through tissue, reaching the blood, no antibiotics, no antiseptics, no hospital. Just your body, and whatever your body already knew how to do. The fact that you are here, right now, watching this, means your ancestors survived that cut. And thousands like it. In conditions we would call a medical emergency today, they lived long enough to pass something forward. That something is still running inside you right now. Before we go any further, we need to be honest about what science actually knows here, and what it doesn't. We know prehistoric humans faced constant exposure to pathogens, bacteria, parasites, viruses, fungi. We know their immune systems were functional, in many ways, remarkably effective. And we know that natural selection was brutal, eliminating individuals whose immune response wasn't enough. What we don't know is the full picture. Much of what we understand comes from skeletal remains, ancient DNA, and inference. Soft tissue doesn't fossilize. Most of what happened inside their bodies left no trace at all. The evidence is incomplete. And that incompleteness, that gap, is part of the story. For most of human prehistory, our ancestors lived in small groups, rarely more than 50 people, moving across a landscape that never stayed the same. That one fact shaped everything about how disease moved through their world. Think about the diseases that have killed millions throughout recorded history: plague, smallpox, cholera, influenza. All of them require something our ancestors didn't have: density. A pathogen that kills its host before it finds a new one, dies with that host. In a group of 50 people constantly moving, the most devastating epidemics we know today simply couldn't establish themselves. This wasn't medicine. It wasn't wisdom. It was accidental protection, built into the structure of how they lived. And then they stopped moving. Roughly 10,000 years ago, our ancestors settled. Permanent villages. Domesticated animals in close proximity. Dense populations where a single infected person could reach hundreds before anyone knew what was happening. The diseases that define human medical history, the ones that shaped wars, collapsed empires, nearly wiped out entire continents. Those diseases are not ancient. They are the price of civilization. But disease existed before civilization, and the body had answers that predate everything we'd later call medicine. The immune system running in your body right now is not a modern invention. It's an ancient architecture, built over millions of years of contact with pathogens. Two systems working in parallel. One that responds immediately to anything foreign, one that learns. That second system is the one that changes everything. When your body encounters a pathogen, it builds a specific response. And it remembers. The next encounter triggers a faster, stronger defense. Your ancestors who survived an infection didn't pass down the specific memory, but they passed down the machinery capable of building it. Here's what recent science confirmed. Researchers at the Institut Pasteur analyzed the genomes of more than 2,800 individuals who lived in Europe over the past 10,000 years. What they found was remarkable. Most of the genetic mutations that help us defend against pathogens became more common only after the Bronze Age, about 4,500 years ago. Exactly when humans were living in dense cities. Exactly when plague first spread across continents. The immune system didn't just evolve over millions of years. It kept evolving. Right through recorded history. Right through the diseases we brought on ourselves by building civilization. Every disease your ancestors survived made the immune systems of their descendants more capable. You are the product of an unbroken line of survivors. Every person between you and the first Homo sapiens lived long enough to reproduce. Every single one of them fought something, and won. They also had knowledge, not written, not recorded, but accumulated, transmitted, practical understanding of the natural world. Tens of thousands of years of trial and error, carried person to person, generation to generation. Here's how we know this isn't speculation. Researchers studying Neanderthal dental plaque, the calcified residue left on teeth, found evidence of yarrow, chamomile, and poplar consumed 60,000 years ago. Not as food, as plants with no nutritional value, bitter and unpleasant, that someone chose to put in their mouth anyway. Yarrow, a natural antiseptic. Chamomile, anti-inflammatory. Poplar bark contains salicin, the same compound the body converts into the active ingredient in aspirin. And then there's Shanidar cave in northern Iraq. When archaeologists excavated the burial site, they found pollen from 8 different plant species surrounding the remains. 7 of those 8 are still used as folk medicine around the world today. 60,000 years ago. Same plants, same uses. This wasn't magic. It was empirical knowledge. Someone noticed a particular plant reduced fever. That observation survived because it worked. The people who had it lived. The people who didn't were less likely to. Natural selection operating not just on biology, but on knowledge itself. And then there's something the evidence shows that most accounts leave out entirely. In that same cave, Shanidar cave, archaeologists found the remains of a Neanderthal male, now known as Shanidar I. He had a withered arm, amputated at the elbow. A crushing injury to the left side of his face that likely blinded his left eye. Bone growths in both ear canals, severe enough to cause serious hearing loss. A degenerative disease along his spine that made every movement painful. Foot injuries that altered his gait. He was between 40 and 50 years old when he died. For a Neanderthal, that is the equivalent of 80 years old today. He could not have survived alone. He couldn't hunt. He could barely walk. Someone fed him. Someone kept him warm. Someone made a decision, maybe every single day, that his life was worth maintaining when he could no longer contribute to the group's survival. That decision is 60,000 years old. Disease and injury were not simply individual problems. They were collective problems. And the response was collective. The social immune system may have been as important as the biological one. It is tempting to look at prehistoric humans facing disease without medicine and assume they were helpless, that most of them died young from things we treat in an afternoon. That conclusion is too simple. Average life expectancy in prehistoric populations was low, but that number is dragged down by one thing: infant mortality. Catastrophically high infant mortality. Individuals who survived childhood often lived into their 50s and 60s. They were not fragile. They were not helpless. They were operating with a biological system refined over millions of years, a body of practical knowledge built over thousands of generations, and a social structure that treated survival as a shared responsibility. They didn't have what we have, but what they had was not nothing. What they had is still inside you. The immune system running in your body right now has been tested against more pathogens than any medical textbook contains. Every fever your body has ever run, every infection it has ever cleared, every pathogen it has ever neutralized. It did that with machinery your ancestors built and handed down through an unbroken chain of survival. You didn't inherit their world, but you inherited everything they learned about how to stay alive in it. The cut on your hand heals without you thinking about it. The fever breaks on its own. The infection clears. You don't notice it because it works. That's exactly what 60,000 years of survival looks like. from the inside. Next, why does your face look nothing like your ancestors? The bones that shape your jaw, your forehead, your nose, they changed faster than almost any other part of the human body. And the reason reveals something unsettling about what actually drove our evolution in the last 10,000 years.